She never asked anyone to die for her, but someone did, and more than once. When Isabella started receiving strange messages from a faceless stranger who knew her secrets, she thought it was a sick joke. But when her exes began turning up dead, one by one, and the stranger claimed he was only protecting her, Isabella realized she wasn't just running from heartbreak anymore. She was running from a love that killed.
Don't forget to like and subscribe as we dive into this heart-pounding, suspense-filled love story that will keep you guessing till the very end.
Isabella was the kind of woman people noticed, not just because of her beauty, but because of the quiet strength in her eyes. She was in her late 20s, full of grace and warmth, yet something about her felt distant, like she was always holding something back. What most people didn't know was that her heart had been broken too many times. The first time was by Dapo. He came into her life like a dream, tall, confident, smooth with words, and always knowing just what to say. He made her laugh, treated her like a queen, and promised her the kind of love she had always hoped for. For 6 months, she believed she had finally found her person. But one afternoon, the truth came crashing down. She found out Dapo was married with 2 kids. Everything had been a lie. Her world spun. She cried for days, not just because of the betrayal, but because she felt foolish for believing him. Still, she picked herself up and moved on. Then came Kelvin. He was different, or so she thought. Quiet, laid back, always smiling. He wasn't as flashy as Dapo, and that made her feel safer. They talked for hours, shared inside jokes, and even began making future plans. She was beginning to trust again. But one morning, Kelvin simply stopped replying. No call, no message, nothing. Days turned to weeks. She called, texted, emailed, no response. He had ghosted her completely, just vanished. The pain of being abandoned without reason sank deeper than she expected. She blamed herself, wondering what she'd done wrong. Still, she tried again. Chuka was the third. He was charming in a simple way, not overly romantic, but attentive. She met him through a friend. He listened when she spoke, asked about her day, and made her feel seen. Slowly, she let her guard down. He told her he was working on a business and sometimes needed help. She gave what she could: money, time, emotional support. But after 3 months, he began changing. Cold, distracted, distant. One day, he borrowed money and promised to pay it back in a week. That was the last time she saw him. He blocked her everywhere. Gone. By now, Isabella was tired. Not just emotionally, but deep in her soul. Love, which once felt magical and hopeful, now seemed like a trap. Every time she opened her heart, someone came in and left worse than they found it. She stopped replying to messages, deleted dating apps. She stopped wearing makeup and began dressing in oversized clothes, not because she didn't care about her looks, but because she wanted to be invisible. She couldn't go through it again. Her friends tried to cheer her up, but she kept her smile thin and polite. Inside, she had shut down. Love was no longer an option. She decided she would focus on her career, take care of herself, and avoid anything that might open her up to pain again. But then something unexpected happened. His name was Michael. They met at a small business networking event. She wasn't even supposed to attend. Her boss had forced her to represent the office. Michael was helping manage the event and offered her coffee when he noticed she looked uncomfortable. He didn't try to flirt. He didn't give her compliments. He just made conversation, and it flowed so easily. By the end of the night, they had laughed, shared stories, and even exchanged numbers, strictly professional. But Michael kept showing up. Not in a pushy way. He'd check in with her occasionally, send her helpful articles related to her field, invite her to business meetups. Slowly, he began to break through the walls she had built. He was different. Calm, thoughtful, respectful. He didn't try to rush anything. He wasn't obsessed with looks or drama. He listened. Really listened. Michael made her laugh again, in ways she didn't even realize she'd forgotten how to do. But still, Isabella was cautious. Part of her liked him, maybe more than she wanted to admit, but she didn't know if she could trust her heart again. The scars were still fresh. Every time Michael reached out, part of her wanted to pull back, but another part, the one that still believed in love, kept whispering, "Maybe this time, it's real." And just as she was beginning to let hope in again, something strange would happen that would change everything.
It was a quiet Thursday night. Isabella had just returned home from work, made herself a simple dinner, and curled up on the couch. The day had been long, but uneventful. She scrolled through her usual social apps, barely paying attention, replying to a few work messages and skipping through boring status updates. Out of habit, she opened a little-known chat app she hadn't used in months, one of those social platforms she downloaded ages ago but forgot about. As soon as it opened, a new message popped up. The username was simple: Kane. She frowned. She didn't recognize the name, and there was no profile picture. The message read, "Hello, Isabella. I've missed watching you." She paused. Her heart skipped. Maybe it was someone she used to know playing a prank. Then, another message came through. "You looked beautiful in that wine-red dress yesterday, and the black lace underneath? Perfect." Isabella sat up straight. Her hands grew cold. She had worn that exact outfit to the office the day before, including her underwear. No one else saw it. No one could have known. She clicked on the profile, but there was no info, no picture, no friends, just more messages. "Your full name is Isabella Tolu Aluko. You were born May 12th. You applied to 3 companies this week: Green Tech, Nova Digital, and HR Connect." Only Green Tech replied. Her chest tightened. That information wasn't public. Not even her close friends knew she'd applied to jobs. She hadn't posted it anywhere. She stared at her screen, frozen. Another message came in. "Don't be afraid. I love you. I only want to protect you." A chill ran down her spine. This wasn't just creepy, it was disturbing. Who was this? How did they know so much about her? She hesitated, then replied, "Who are you? How do you know all this?" The reply was immediate. "Call me Kane. I've been here, quietly, watching, waiting. I know what they did to you, Dapo, Kelvin, Chuka. I know how they broke you. But you don't have to hurt anymore. I'll take care of you now." Her hands trembled as she read those words. She didn't know whether to scream or cry. Another message appeared. "You deserve love that doesn't hurt. I'll give it to you. Just trust me." That was it. She couldn't take it anymore. With her heart pounding, she quickly went to settings and blocked the user. Then she uninstalled the app entirely. But even after it was gone, the fear remained. She double-checked all her windows and doors that night. She turned on all the lights. Sleep didn't come easily. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to calm her thoughts. Maybe it was a hacker. Maybe it was someone she once gave her details to and they were just trying to scare her. But no, that didn't explain how they knew the exact color of her underwear. That was something only someone who saw her could know. Her mind raced. Was she being watched through her webcam? Was someone following her? She began thinking about every man she'd crossed paths with lately. Could Kane be someone from her past? Someone she'd forgotten? By 3 a.m., she was still wide awake, checking and rechecking her phone,
half expecting another message to come through. But there was nothing. Just silence.
The next morning, she deleted more apps from her phone and changed her passwords. She tried to act normal, went to work, made small talk with coworkers, even smiled at Michael when he asked how her night was. She didn't tell him anything. Something about the whole thing felt too strange to say out loud, like no one would believe her. Or worse, they would, and panic with her. But deep down, something told her this wasn't over. Someone out there knew too much, and he had called himself Cain.
The morning after the strange messages from Cain, Isabella tried to shake it off. She told herself it was just someone messing with her, a sick joke, or a hacker playing mind games. She had blocked the account and deleted the app. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. The very next morning, she woke up to a news alert on her phone. She almost ignored it, until she saw the name. Dapo Adigun, found dead in a hotel room. Her breath caught in her throat. She sat up and read the full story. Dapo had checked into a hotel the night before for a supposed business meeting. He was found in the morning by staff, unconscious, cold. The cause of death? Poison. Her hands began to shake. She hadn't seen Dapo in over a year. They had no recent contact. Still, the timing felt too close, too connected. She thought back to Cain's words, "I'll protect you. I know what they did to you." Her heart raced. Could it be a coincidence? She spent the day distracted, barely able to concentrate. She tried to convince herself it had nothing to do with her, but a small voice inside kept whispering, "What if it wasn't random? What if someone actually did this, for you?" A week passed. She avoided the news, avoided the app, and tried to pretend nothing was wrong. Then another headline appeared. Kelvin Adewale, found stabbed outside a nightclub. Isabella's knees buckled. She had to sit down. Her body felt cold all over. Kelvin, the second man who hurt her. According to the news, he was seen arguing with someone in the alley. No CCTV footage, no witnesses. He was found just after midnight with multiple stab wounds, dead before the ambulance arrived. 2 men, 2 from her past, gone within days of Cain's message. It couldn't be a coincidence anymore. With trembling fingers, she re-downloaded the app she had deleted. Her account was still there. She logged in and searched for the blocked user. Cain.
She unblocked the account. He was online. Without thinking, she sent the message. "Was that you?" The reply came instantly. "They hurt you. I handled it. You're safe now." Her stomach dropped. She read the message again and again, as if hoping it would change. She typed, her fingers shaking. "Cain, what did you do? Why would you do that?" Another message followed. "Because they made you cry. I told you I love you. I protect what I love. You're mine now." Tears welled up in her eyes. This wasn't romantic. This wasn't love. This was something else. Something dangerous. She replied, "Please stop. I don't want anyone else hurt." Cain answered, "No one else will hurt you. I'll make sure of it. All you have to do is stay close. Don't push me away." She felt a wave of panic. What did that mean? Stay close. Was he watching her? Did he know where she lived? Where she worked? She got up and checked every door and window in her apartment. She pulled the curtains shut, turned off every light, and sat on her bed in the dark, phone in hand, heart racing. The app pinged again. "You don't have to be afraid of me, Isabella. I'm the only one who truly understands you." She stared at the screen, breathing hard. The lines between protection and obsession were blurring fast, and she didn't know how to escape something or someone who always seemed to be a step ahead. That night, she didn't sleep. The shadows in her room felt alive. The silence pressed down on her. Every buzz from her phone made her jump. 2 men who once broke her heart were now dead, and Cain,
Whoever he was had just made it clear he was far from done.
Isabella tried to live normally again, but she couldn't. Every time she smiled, laughed, or even sat still for a moment, Cain was there, in her thoughts, in the shadows of her mind, and sometimes in her messages. It had been days since Kelvin's death, but she still felt like she was being watched. Michael had noticed the change. He asked her gently if she was okay. She lied, softly smiling and saying she was just tired. He believed her, for now. Then, one night, the message came. Cain was back. Michael is too close. Isabella blinked at the screen. The air in her lungs felt thick. He's a threat. You can't love him. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. He's not a threat. He's good to me. Please, leave him out of this. Cain's reply came quickly. You belong to me, Isabella. I removed the ones who hurt you. Michael is different, but he's still a risk. He's taking what isn't his. She held her phone to her chest and whispered to herself, this can't be happening. Then the message that chilled her to the core. Choose, Michael or Chuka. One disappears by morning. Isabella gasped. Her hands flew to her mouth as if trying to hold in a scream. The room spun. Cain wanted her to pick who would die next. Michael, the kind man who had shown her nothing but patience and warmth, or Chuka, the manipulator who disappeared after using her. It felt like a sick game, but it was real. She had no proof, no police would believe her, and Cain had already proven he could follow through. Tears ran down her cheeks as she typed back, please, don't do this. I don't want anyone to die. No response. She cried harder. In the end, she typed, spare Michael, please. He has not even hurt me.
Then Chuka it is, the message read.
She did not reply, yet she hated herself for not being able to stop him, for being so helpless. But fear had taken over. She couldn't let Cain touch Michael. He didn't deserve this. She sat in silence all night, waiting, crying, praying that maybe Cain wouldn't go through with it.
But the next day, her phone buzzed with a breaking news alert. Man missing. Chuka Obi last seen leaving a friend's house late at night. Blood found near his compound. Investigation ongoing. Isabella dropped her phone. Her legs gave way beneath her. It had happened. Again. And this time, it was because of her choice. There was no comfort, no relief. Just a sinking feeling in her chest that she had crossed the line that could never be undone. That evening, Cain messaged again. Now you're truly safe. No more threats, only me. She stared at the message, numb. Her tears had dried, but her heart felt heavier than ever. Cain had made it clear. He wasn't just watching. He was controlling, deciding, erasing. And now he believed she belonged to him. But all Isabella wanted was to be free. Free from the fear, free from the guilt, free to choose her own happiness without death trailing behind. She looked at a photo Michael had sent her earlier that day, a selfie of him holding 2 cups of coffee with the caption, one for me, one for you. Her chest ached. She didn't know how to protect him. Cain had taken so much already. But would she lose Michael too, just for trying to love again?
Isabella couldn't carry the weight any longer. The fear, the guilt, the sleepless nights, it was too much. Cain had taken over her life, crept into every corner of her mind, and made her afraid to feel anything close to love. But now, her fear for Michael was stronger than her fear of Cain.
She couldn't keep hiding the truth. She had to tell him. That evening, she invited Michael over to her apartment. He arrived, smiling as always, holding a box of pastries and joking about how she always forgot to eat after work. But when he saw her face, pale, eyes tired, and lips trembling, his smile faded. "Isabella," he said gently, setting the box down. "What's wrong?" She took a deep breath and sat down on the couch, motioning for him to sit beside her. "I need to tell you something," she began, her voice shaking. "And after I do, I'll understand if you never want to see me again." Michael frowned, concerned. "You're scaring me a little." She told him everything. About Cain, the strange messages, the terrifying knowledge of her life, how he knew what she wore, where she applied for jobs, how he promised to protect her. Then Dapo died, then Kelvin, then Chuka. She expected Michael to flinch, to get up and leave, or worse, look at her like she was crazy. But he didn't. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. He just sat there, quietly, holding her hand as tears fell from her eyes. When she finished, there was silence between them for a few long moments. Finally, Michael spoke. "I don't know what this is. I don't understand it. And yes, it's terrifying. But I believe you." She looked at him, shocked. "I believe you. And whatever this is, we'll face it together."
A sob broke free from her chest. She covered her face, overwhelmed by relief. For the first time in a long time, someone wasn't running away. He wasn't afraid of her story. He was choosing to stand beside her. That same night, Michael helped her delete the app. He changed his phone number and then helped her change hers. They spent hours updating passwords, turning off unnecessary devices, and even covering her webcam. But more than the digital cleanup, it was the emotional comfort Michael gave her that mattered most. He didn't treat her like a burden. He didn't question her sanity. He stayed. A few days later, he planned a weekend getaway. Nothing fancy, just a quiet cabin by the water, away from the noise, away from the memories. There was no internet, barely any phone signal, and just the sounds of nature filling the silence. For the first time in months, Isabella slept without nightmares. Michael made her laugh again. He cooked for her, badly, but with heart. They took long walks, played card games, and watched the stars at night, wrapped in a shared blanket. And through it all, he never once pressured her to move faster, to open up more, or to be anything but herself. "Take your time," he told her once, as she sat quietly beside him. "I'm not going anywhere." Isabella had forgotten what it felt like to be loved without conditions, to feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally. Cain had offered protection through fear, but Michael offered something else: peace, presence, and patience. Slowly, her heart began to soften again. The walls she built weren't crashing down all at once. They were gently being taken apart, brick, by hands that truly cared. For the first time in a long time, Isabella felt something close to peace. Not because the danger was over, but because she no longer had to face it alone. They were back from the cabin, the quiet, healing escape now behind them. Isabella's phone had finally regained internet access, and with it, a flicker of old fear returned. She had delayed turning data back on for as long as she could. Part of her was terrified that he might still be out there, watching, waiting. Days had passed and nothing came. Maybe it was over. Maybe Cain was truly gone. That evening, as the sun dipped low behind the hilltop, casting warm hues of orange and pink across the sky, Isabella stood beside Michael in their favorite spot. Their fingers were interlocked, their bodies close. This little hill had become sacred to them, a place of stillness. She turned to Michael and smiled. He kissed her forehead and pulled her gently into his arms, wrapping them around her waist. "I don't know how I got so lucky," she whispered. Michael looked at her, serious but full of love. "You didn't get lucky, Bella. You deserve peace. You fought through hell for it." Just then, her phone buzzed. It startled her. This was a new number, a new phone, clean, untouched, secure. Only a few people had it. Her smile faded slightly as she pulled it out and looked at the screen. A message from an unknown number. Her breath caught. Michael noticed the change in her expression. "What is it?" Isabella opened the message slowly. Her hands trembled slightly. But the words on the screen didn't feel threatening. In fact, they felt like an ending. "I see he loves you, truly. My work here is done. Goodbye, Isabella. You don't need me anymore. Kane." And that was it. She stared at the screen, waiting, expecting another message, a follow-up, a threat, a joke, but nothing came. When she tried to reply, the number showed as inactive, the chat thread grayed out, and the account disappeared. No trace left behind. Kane was gone. Isabella slowly sat down on the grass, overwhelmed. But this time she didn't cry out from fear. She didn't shake from panic. She cried from relief. Michael knelt beside her and held her as she wept into his chest, not because she missed Kane, but because the shadow that had haunted her for so long had finally faded. Her past, the pain, the trauma, the mysterious grip Kane had on her life had finally let go. She was free. They sat there until the sky turned dark, stars blinking into the heavens. Then they walked down the hill slowly, hand in hand, no longer afraid of what waited at the bottom.
6 months later. That same hilltop, now adorned with fairy lights, flowers, and a small group of loved ones. Michael dropped to one knee, holding out a simple, elegant ring. He looked up at Isabella with that same gentle, unwavering gaze that had never once faltered since the day she told him the truth. "Isabella," he said, "I don't want to live in a world where I'm not beside you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in her eyes, but this time they were happy tears, healing tears. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times, yes. Cheers echoed in the air as he slipped the ring on her finger, and the hilltop that once bore fear now echoed with laughter, love, and joy. A few months later, a slow song played softly. The guests rose to their feet. Michael stood at the altar, his heart pounding, his eyes fixed on the entrance. And there she was. Isabella walked down the aisle in a flowing white gown, radiant and calm, no longer the woman weighed down by sorrow or haunted by shadows. She walked like someone who had survived fire and found love in its ashes. As she reached Michael and took his hand, they smiled at each other like they had made it through a war and were finally home. The vows came with ease, so did the tears. "I thought I would never trust again," she said in hers, her voice steady. "But you never gave up on me, even when I couldn't trust myself." Michael's vows were simple. "Whatever storm comes, I'm not leaving." The officiant declared them husband and wife, and as they kissed, the world around them seemed to pause in quiet celebration. No more fear, no more Kane, no more running. Just two hearts that had chosen to fight and to love against all odds. Isabella was finally free, and this time, love had won.